Episode of A Cup of Joe, and I'm super excited about this one today. We've got special guest Terry Swanson, owner of Century 21 Results right here in Cumming, Georgia. Terry, like I said, is the owner of our office. We have an office of about 300 agents, and we are the number 4 Century 21 office in the United States. Definitely a lot of credibility goes to Terry. So what I figured what we're going to do today is do a little Q&A session with Terry. But also, before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know I can't see that you're watching, so be sure to comment. Let us know that you're here. And in true Terry Swanson fashion, something that he always does at our company meetings is give away some money. So what we're going to be doing, what I'm going to be doing, if you guys comment that you are here watching, you are automatically entered for a chance to win $100. So be sure to comment, even if you're not watching live, be sure to comment by midnight tonight, and I'll be making a decision tomorrow on who the winner of $100 will be. But want to get started? Again, if you would like a Cup of Joe mug, let me know, and we will get one sent to you. You can see Terry's got his right there. So, Terry, first off, I wanted to ask you, how did you get started into real estate?
Well, first, before I answer that, Joe, you got your cup of Joe. I brought a cup of dough nuts. See, Dunkin' Donuts.
Unbelievable.
No. But see, it's behind the cup of Joe. I'm paying respect to the cup of Joe.
That. I appreciate
my cup of dough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, what was the question?
Question was, how did you get started into real estate?
How did I get started in real estate? So, my mother was in real estate in the early 70s. She got into it in the early 70s when I was about 5 years old. And watching her through now you got to remember this, you look at cycles of real estate and stuff. Back in the 80s, we went in the downturn and the interest rates were 18%.
It's crazy.
Can you imagine selling homes at 18%? My mother was in that, and I watched her struggle during that time. And I was like, there ain't no way in hell I want to do that. And she ended up becoming a brokerage. She did fine during the 80s, even in the 18% interest rate. My dad was in the mortgage business. I watched the two of them, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be in sales. I don't want to be in real estate. I went to school, and it took me 7 wonderful years of bartending in school to get through college, but I did. Yeah. And I'll never forget, in my mind, I was not going to get into sales, and sure as heck wasn't going to get into real estate. And I went and interviewed with a builder, Syntex Homes at the time, and the interview was horrible, but for whatever reason, they liked me, and they proceeded to say, hey, we want you to take it further. When I found out what their on-site agents were making, I was like, hey, you know what? I could really get into real estate sales. Mm-hmm. And I started off with the new home builder, Syntex Homes, who was a large national company at that time. Now they are part of Pulte. And so I got into it by mistake, not planned. Right. And then spent 6 years doing that before we opened up Results. And so really I got into it by mistake. But I can tell you,
that's interesting.
Looking back on that interview, there's no reason on this planet, if I were the guy that was interviewing me, I would have not pushed me any further.
Yeah.
And so I look back and go, wow, you know what? Had that interview and that person not happened in my life, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right. And that's something that you bring up that is pretty interesting, because obviously you've been extremely successful in this business. That's why I'm having you on the show here today. But I think something you've told me before is if you combine your high school and your college GPA, what was that again?
If you added them together.
I
got a 3.9.
That's pretty good.
I was a 1.98 in high school and 1.92 in college.
1.98 in high school, 1.92 in college. Took them 7 years to graduate. So if that encourages anybody out there, I hope you can grow to be as successful as Terry is.
So. Well, let me say this, because this is fascinating. So back then in the 80s, at 85 years old, 1985 years old. I feel 85 sometimes. Yeah. But back then, I could still get into UGA with a 1.98 GPA.
Crazy.
That doesn't happen today. So It's like if you don't have at least a 4.0 or above, you ain't getting into UGA today. So it's like, look at how the college experience has changed.
That's right. So you've told a story before about when you did get into business. You talked about getting in with Syntex Homes, new construction. You talked about a story, where you weren't necessarily having the success that you hoped of. Maybe that's due because you said you got into it by mistake. You saw the money you could be making. I know that that's that's a big mistake that a lot of realtors make, is they get in it for the money. You tell a story about drawing a line in the sand in your business and having a fresh start. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So at that time in my career, let's say it was about, I'd say, I don't know, several years of being in the business. And I was never really driven. I was like, okay, I'm happy. I was in my 20s, my mid 20s. And, and I was not really selling that much. I was making good money for the age that I was. And then one day my sales manager, Brenda Lee, who's still in the business today, she pulled me in her kitchen. She said, I want to have lunch with you. I'd never had lunch with her at her house. So we go over to her home, and I'll never forget. She sat there and said, my partners, I had 3 partners. She said, Rosemary Todd, she's got drive. Carrie Shepard, she's got drive. Penny DeShield, she's got drive. Terry Swanson has no drive. And she told me she was going to take me out of Old Atlanta Club, which is right down the street from here. And it was hot, hot, hot. You could have a dog with a collar on its neck that had a contract, and it would have written contracts. That's how easy it was back then. So she was going to take me out of Old Atlanta Club and put me in a new community and said, we're going to find out if you can sink or swim. And I was so mad because I lived in Old Atlanta Club. I was making good money, but I really, truly had no drive. And I remember walking out that door that day being so pissed off. I was like, what do you mean I don't have drive? And that was the moment in time that I said, I'm going to draw a line in the sand. I'm going to figure out what it is to be a professional salesperson. And I sat there and watched Penny, Carrie, and Rosemary over the next several months. And I realized they all had such different styles. And I had to go out there and develop my own based off what I saw in theirs. And so I started reading books, listening to audio tapes, becoming a junkie about self-improvement. But up to that point in time, never even thought, I laughed at that type stuff.
Right.
But it really had a monumental shift in my thinking pattern about what I could do. And but Brenda's conversation with me that day of basically threatening to fire me if I didn't find out how to get that drive that was important to her.
And the reason why it probably made you so mad is because you knew that it was true. I mean, if it wasn't true, you wouldn't have taken it so personal.
She knew I had it in me. I always talked to her about that. And I was like, well, she said, I always had to get you pissed off. And if I got you pissed off, you'd go out there and set the world on fire for a while. And I don't have that issue today, but she had to kickstart getting me into a drive pattern. Once I was in that drive pattern, I was like a junkie. I wanted to do better every single day and grow and grow and grow. And that's basically what started the opportunity for me to get better, even, be in this type of opportunity here.
Awesome. So before we get into the next question, I just want to remind you guys watching live that if you comment that you're here watching, I am doing a $100 giveaway at the end of the day today. Even if you are watching on replay, be sure to comment. Let me know that you're here so you can be entered for a chance to win $100. Question, Terry Swanson.
Do I get to be entered?
Oh, you're automatically.
So I'm going to go in there and say, I'm watching.
You can.
Okay.
If you want to. All right. So that's great stuff that we were just talking about there with drawing the line in the sand. So you've been in the business a couple of years at this point. At this point in your career. What made you want to start your own brokerage?
So, one, my mother was a broker for a company that was called Northside Realty back at the time. And I was in new home sales, so totally different, animal than general sales. And we sat there in a conversation in the parking lot one day, and literally, again, it was like me getting into real estate. There was no real plan or huge thought process about it. I was actually looking to get out of the new home sales business. I was starting to look into medical sales. Because Syntex at that time, we were working 6 days a week, didn't have any weekends off. And I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. So I just got kind of burnt out. I'd spent 6 years with them.
Yeah, because new construction especially is a lot of weekends.
A lot of weekends. It was every weekend, right? Unless we got our 2-week vacation. But outside of that, you worked 6 days a week, gave up your weekends, and so much time outside of it. Good money, but it's like I got burnt out. So I was starting to interview with some medical companies, and my mom and I sat after lunch, and she was looking to go to a different brokerage, and we just really sat there and said, well, I didn't know you were looking to switch brokerages. She said, I didn't know that you were looking to get out of the business. Why don't we do something together? And literally, it was from a half-hour conversation like that even started the thought process. And I thought, you know what, that'd be cool to go be in business with my mom. And that's what we did. I thought it would be a year and a half down the road. My mom called me about 2 weeks later and she said, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
I want to do it. And so it went from a year to year and a half in my mind down to 3 months.
Yeah.
And that scared the hell out of me. But, the world of real estate's changed. You've got technology, which is such a huge thing out there. The expense of a brokerage, the teams that are out there today, it's like like what you're doing, Go with Joe. You're really a brokerage like it was when I was back in the day of getting started. We didn't have that many brokerages out there. The models were all pretty much the same. So I was like, I want to do something different. We started off going flexible commissions. That was our big thing. I didn't want to say 4% or,
right.
It was flexible commissions, right? And a team concept. So I was out listing and selling, and I'd bring agents on that were just, hey, come in here, take care of my listings and stuff. And so it was like, we started off team concept and flexible commissions as our little parade that we were going to go out there and celebrate. Since that time, it's like, you know how we operate in here.
Yeah.
It is kind of like still more like a team environment of link into what we've got and work it well. So teams, technology, and expenses have really changed a lot of what brokerages are today.
And it's pretty crazy to think that you were about to get out of the business into the medical field, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to start my own brokerage. And you ever look back on that and think about how far you've come? Would you ever
Not
look
until
back
questions like this come up. You keep just going
Yeah.
about things and whatever and look into the future. And very seldomly do you stop and go, man, what was it like back then? And then the cool thing for me is looking back at that one conversation, with my mom. We went to lunch that day, and I'll never forget. It's like, if we didn't have that lunch, and by chance, 5 minutes from her getting out of the car and going back into her office, if the question didn't come up, and the response of me wanting to get in the medical sales, that my whole trajectory of my life would have changed.
Right.
So I look back in wonderment of those two conversations. The one with the guy that interviewed me that should have never hired me. Which, by the way, did I tell you ever what one of the primary questions was that in my third interview that one of the sales managers asked me?
No.
So think about this. New home sales. And he says, Terry, let me ask you this. It was Roland Risch. He said, let me ask you this. Why do you want to get into new home sales? Now, this is my third interview. You know what my answer was?
Why's that?
You know what, Roland? I hadn't really thought about it. I don't know. Would you hire me?
Yeah.
Come on.
On the spot.
So this was the third interview.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, you'd think you would have that answer by then. So, and you know what he said? Well, there's something to be said for honesty.
Yeah.
Go figure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So guys, just a reminder, be sure to comment. Let us know that you're here for your chance to win $100. We will be giving that out at the end of day today. So even if you're watching replay, be sure to comment. Let us know that you're here watching. The next question I have for you, Terry, I want to know hold on. Let me answer some of these questions real quick. Let's see what some of our comments are. We got a couple people tuned in. Wesley, Heather, appreciate you being here. Marcy saw my billboard the other day. That's good to know that they're working. I appreciate it. Got Lori, who used to be an agent here, now lives in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So hope you're doing well. And a couple of my boys from college, Ryan and Josh. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So next question I have for you, Terry. What would you say is the biggest challenge you faced?
Maybe there's a couple, right?
Yeah.
So one, the history of the company, we've been through 3 office fires, right?
3?
3.
So you texted me about this yesterday, that you said 3 office fires. Now, I knew of 1 office fire, but I didn't know that we had 3 office fires.
Yeah. So a year and a half into the business, right? And all of a sudden at 4 a.m. I'm getting these calls, and it was the fire department, and they were at our office. Our office had been struck by lightning. So first office fire, act of God, struck by lightning, right? Lightning hit the building, a lot of smoke damage. In this building, I got to tell you, the first office was this Ramblin' Ranch that had been moved from Brookhaven out to Cumming. It was on it was terrible looking, but we loved it. We were, oh, this is going to be great. 7-foot tall ceilings that had wavy sheetrock in it. So lightning hit it. We said, hey, we're going to get all new sheetrock. It was the same structure and everything. But it took about a year and a half for that to kind of come through. So we're getting to the finishing stages. And we're about a month and a half out from getting in. We're excited. And I'll be damned, the plumber that was in there didn't wet the wood down.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently when they soldered the lines together, they got to go wet the wood. It was real windy that day. And I got a call from one of my clients. She said, she was at the gas station next door. She said, I just got to tell you this. I don't know what's going on, but there's smoke all around your building and stuff. Well, by the time I got over there, it was just like a huge.
And this is right when you're getting ready to move.
Month and a half from getting back in the office
after having it.
So,
the first time.
At that time, it was like, oh my God, how much worse can it get? But we played off that. We still had our sign out in the front. So we were putting humorous, man, the market's really hot and, stuff like that. So we turned the negative into a positive, and we got a lot of people laughing at our signs and stuff. So we went, let's go ahead and keep this going. The third office fire, so that burned down. We had to have a whole new building, whole other year of construction and stuff.
I didn't know about those two. I think this is the third one. The third one is the one I only knew about.
The squirrel?
I don't know. I just knew it was at this office over here at Sharon Road.
So it was Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I'm down in Destin, and I'm getting these calls at 7 a.m. I pick them up. It's Jennifer Hodge. Mm-hmm. She was at the office on the Sunday at 7 a.m. on Memorial Day weekend. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Well, apparently a squirrel had bitten into the transformer box. Transformer box was 40 feet away from our office. This squirrel bites into the transformer box, blows up, explodes, becomes a flaming ball of mass, goes and hits our building. Thud. Jennifer hears the thud. Falls in 1.5 feet of pine straw. Now, you can't make this stuff up. Falls in 1.5 feet of pine straw and starts burning the siding. Fortunately, Jennifer Hodge was there. Otherwise, we'd had a whole other burn down of the whole building. So 3 office fires, and we persevered through them. They were very interesting and entertaining. But the biggest thing I went through was 3.5-year divorce, the downturn in the market, and our top team leaving at that time, all in the exact same day. I had that experience of dealing with all 3 of those. That was probably the biggest point in my time where it almost crushed me. I felt so much pressure, and I had on my chest, and I was like, "Oh my God, if you're going to take me now."
Yeah, that's a lot.
It was unbelievable, and that was in all the uncertainty that was going on in that 2008-9 timeframe. Mm-hmm. But we dug out of that, and it's like, hey, you know what? Learning through those things, it's like I can overcome anything that I choose to do, and that's the way that we've operated since then.
Which probably has something to do with the answer for my next question, which we talked about previously, that Terry is the owner of Century 21 Results, which is we've got about 300 agents in our office, probably just over 300 agents in our office. 310, he corrected me. And we're the number 4 Century 21 office in the United States, which is incredible accomplishment with such a large global brand like Century 21. So what do you think separates you from the majority of brokers out there?
The corny answer is the true answer. It's like working with people like yourself that we can link in together and, help each other. I learn from you guys, and hopefully I bring value to the table, and the staff. And the staff is probably the most important thing, that when you walk in the door in here, that they really are, it's all about the agents, right?
Right.
So
can I stop you right there for a second though? Because when I was writing this question, I knew that was going to be your answer, because you are a pretty selfless guy, Terry. You're always going to give the agent all the credits. You have a very agent focused office, and that's something that I appreciate about being here. But the truth is that what I was really hoping to get down to is these agents wouldn't be here if you weren't doing something right. So what do you feel like you do differently than most brokers specifically out there?
Well, I'm into the business. So it's like I'm probably more in the business than what most brokers are out there, to be real. Mm-hmm. And I get up and I'm grateful every day. I had an agent, I think this might be part of it. Mm-hmm. I had an agent the other day who was in the process of going, you know what, put me on pause of getting any online leads. I can't take it anymore. It's too frustrating out there. I'm dealing with too many buyers. I psychologically just need a break, right? So she came on in a meeting online and she said, Terry, I got a question for you. How do you stay positive every single day? It's not possible for me. And I think that's probably part of it. Is I don't come in, if I'm having a bad day, you typically don't know it. You might in a sideline conversation, but the persona I try to put out there is upbeat. I want to have good energy in the office. That's
definitely
important
great
to
energy
me
here in this office.
And some days I don't want to go in and run a sales meeting, but I got to get up and fake it, right? because I know that is the thing that drives things, is the energy that's in here, and I got to deliver it and stay high, even if I'm feeling low. So I think that's probably part of what is getting gotten out.
I got to say, the energy here in this office, Terry, creates an unbelievable environment, a great atmosphere for all the agents to be working here. Really keeps us all motivated, and it looks like Rhonda G agrees with you. She says Terry rocks. ... Not much enthusiasm there, but Terry rocks.
Rocks though, from Rhonda, I'll take that all day long. Thank you, Rhonda.
Awesome. So the last question I have for you, Terry, is if you were to tell or give advice to a brand new real estate agent, somebody that's just getting into the business. What year did you get into the business?
92.
1992. Man, I was born in 1994.
Wow. Thanks, man.
So if you were to give one piece of advice to Terry Swanson, just getting his real estate license, brand new in 1992, what advice would you give?
So I think one of the things that people get confused by is commission charges, right? And what does a broker take versus give to the agents? And the problem in that I see is you might go select, hey, I'm going to make more money over here because I'm going to get a higher percentage. But you're not going to get the service. You're not going to get the backing, the roadways to success.
The value.
Yeah. And so don't chase, and especially in the beginning, don't chase the higher splits. Chase what's going to get you the best foundation, right? And have the best true support team that's going to help you through the challenges that everyone's going to face out there. I don't care if you are socially connected to 4,000 people that think you're a rock star. You're going to have challenges in those first couple of years. Get with a brokerage that provides the best value, service, and has the staff to help get you through those moments. And I'm not saying that because we offer those things. I'm saying that because I see that all the time, and you got all these fee-based brokerages and stuff. I think that's the worst thing an agent can go link into to start their career. I just do.
I 100% agree. So, Terry knows this, but whenever I was first getting into the business, I previously worked for Century 21, unlicensed when I was in college. So whenever I did get my license, it was really a no-brainer just to put my license with Century 21. And about a year into the business, I decided to explore some other options, talk with a couple other local brokerages, and I just felt like nobody could provide the same value of Century 21 that Century 21 does. So just all the support that we get here is really worth it. Are we the cheapest brokerage split-wise? 100% no. But if you look at it from the agent perspective, if you're an agent talking with the homeowner, there's always going to be an agent that's going to be able to do it cheaper than what you do. But is that agent going to bring the same value that you're going to bring to the homeowner or your clients? No, oftentimes not. So same thing from the brokerage perspective. I would agree with you, Terry, that Century 21, definitely not the cheapest, but when you look at it from a value perspective, I truly think they bring the most value, and that's bang for the buck.
Yeah, I truly look at it and go, what can I provide and do for an agent that is either costly or requires management, hire and fire, and all those things? If I can help bring people to you that are great quality people and you don't have to worry about that stuff, that's important to me. And so, the other thing is, it's not just the brokerage. It's, hey, a person might need a team, You guys provide, the teams offer a whole different level of support and service that go beyond what we do. Right. So you've got different things than what I ever had the opportunity of having back in the time when I got in the business. I mean, hell, there weren't teams out in the thing. There were not teams in real estate. They were just starting to surface out there. And now it's like your teams are your brokerages, and then the broker is kind of like a back end, just like a rear view mirror type thing that's there, but you don't really notice it as much as, you building your brand out there and stuff. Right. Go with Joe.
No, that's good stuff. Well, Terry, I appreciate you being here today. Once again, I wanted to remind you guys to comment. Let us know that you're here watching. Any feedback is appreciated. Any topic suggestions for the following weeks will be appreciated. Anything you would like to know, we will be happy to answer your questions. Be sure to comment. Let us know you're here for your chance to win $100 I will be giving away. Looks like we have one more question coming in. Kyle asked, what books have helped you the most along the way? So I would say this could go books, maybe podcasts, influencers in the real estate business.
Yeah. So Good question. And I'm not going to narrow it down to one book because I wouldn't say there was one book that had the biggest impact. The greatest influencers for me was one Zig Ziglar, right? And I don't care how old his material is. Everything Zig Ziglar taught is always going to be relevant in today's world. Tony Robbins, phenomenal for motivation and mental exercises and stuff. Mike Ferry has been a big part of my, world. And those three things right there are some of the biggest impacts. Grant Cardone had a 10X conference the other day, and I watched it I haven't been involved in the Grant Cardone experience. But man, some of the people that were in there and just the stories that they were telling.
Definitely motivating for sure.
I will say this. If you see the opportunity on social media to get the recorded interviews from Grant Cardone's 10X conference that just happened a week or two ago, jump on. I think it's like $97. Best stories you could hear. And there's a dude from Atlanta here that grew, he's a billionaire, and grew from sleeping on people's couches and stuff and having a connection point. One person changed his whole trajectory of his world.
Right.
That's the type of stuff that people need to hear, focus on. It's not one book. It's deciding to get into a pattern of wanting to do better for yourself. And if you do that, you're not going to go find one book. You're going to go, let me find different people that can help influence me, and what are the lessons I can learn from them to make myself better.
And that's taking a little bit from each person, putting your own spin on things. And that's definitely something that I try to do, because my philosophy is if I'm learning from one person, if I'm only learning from one person, and I can never be better than that one person because I'm always going to be following their footsteps. So what I like to do is take little bits and pieces from everybody that I learned from, putting my own spin on things to be the best that I can.
Absolutely.
So again, appreciate you guys being here. Filmed live every Wednesday at 8 a.m. for A Cup of Joe. We will see you guys next week.